Are familiar with Kristen and her mother, Nancy, who is here. We're excited to hear more about Daniel's work with the campus ministry at Western Michigan University. This is a very worthwhile cause to support, not only as a ministry for college students who have been members of church and have something that they can go to so they do not lose their faith, but also reaching out to, as we heard during the service, to some of them who have not been church members and become regular members and are converted, some of them baptized. Daniel has baptized some of them. So we're excited to hear his work, and he will be showing a slight video, and I'll turn it over to Daniel at this time.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us. It's a joy to be with you. Thanks for staying for a few more stories. So this is us. I'm Daniel. Many of you know my wife, Kristen, and our kids, Anya, Isaiah, and Ian. A couple of them are enjoying your beautiful balcony. They're blown away by, a balcony. It's super fun. So we've been in campus ministry for 18 years now. You guys have been partnered with us that whole time. We were at U of M for 10 years, and then we joined a church plant team to plant a similar campus-focused church at Western. Part of what compelled us to Western is the need. There's almost 20,000 students there. Before we came, another campus ministry estimated that about 2% of the student body was engaged in some kind of church or ministry. So in many ways, it's a really unreached campus. And we all read the news and see the challenges facing college students are immense. Rising anxiety and social isolation. Some of the particular challenges at Western, there's a really pretty intense party culture on campus. And then a thing that we've seen more at Western than in Ann Arbor is just students struggling with access to basic resources. At the same time, while the need's really great, the opportunity is enormous. The leaders of tomorrow are on campus today. We have this beautiful opportunity to reach them, impact them with the good news of Jesus, and then send them out to serve in local churches around the world. That's a picture from our fall retreat this past year. We had a great group. It was super encouraging. So part of what we do, we work really hard to meet students, to just be on campus. Our Sunday services are right in the student center on campus. I love it. Yeah, a little musical accompaniment. That's fabulous. We set up this H2O church tent at all kinds of events. So in the bottom left, that's us at Bronco Bash, which is their big fall event where all the student orgs set up tables and meet thousands of students. The top left, that's me and our youngest staff member, Ashton, at freshman orientation. So we've built a really good relationship with the school, and so we get invited we're essentially the water tent at freshman orientation, where at the end of their longest day, it's like 10:15 p.m. at the time that picture is taken, and we're just getting started. They come trudging up this hill, and we're there with water and snacks just to be a refreshment. And then some will stop and chat, and we get to tell them about our church. The big picture on the right, that is each fall we set up our tent in the heart of the student tailgate, passing out hot dogs and water to some really dehydrated students in need of some sustenance. And just, again, an opportunity to engage students. We do a lot of fun events on campus, and just even something as simple as a game night can be an opportunity for somebody to make some good friends, to get connected to a church, to get a chance to hear the gospel. So a lot of what we do is really highly relational, just on campus, meeting students. And then, we also serve students, students in need, like I mentioned. Things like rides, meals. We love to host students in our home for meals. The picture where I'm in the back with the confetti. Kristen is really good at celebrating, if you don't know this about her. So she brings confetti poppers to our baptism services. That's some of my small group after Lynn's baptism, who you heard a little bit about this morning. So Lynn, actually 3 of the students in that picture are CETA scholars, and a big way that we've been able to come alongside and serve them is just some really basic things, something as simple as a meal, a ride to an appointment, a box fan because their dorm's hot. Just really simple things can be really cool opportunities to build that relationship, for them to get to hear the gospel, connect with other believers, and so we love to serve students. Ultimately, what we all need, students and each of us, is the gospel. Just, to hear and understand and have an opportunity to accept that good news that we're made for relationship with God. Sin broke that relationship, but what Jesus did in dying on the cross and rising from the dead is enough to pay for all of our junk, restore us to right relationship with God forever. That's a free gift received by grace through faith. So all of what we do is to point students to the gospel. And again, on campus, we have this beautiful opportunity to reach the leaders of tomorrow. So I love this picture's from our spring break trip. I really like it because it kind of shows the gamut of what we do. So here we are serving this community in need, affected by Hurricane Helene. In that picture, you've got a couple students, Gavin and Noah, grew up going to church. They knew they wanted that to be part of their college experience. We've been a place where they could land, make friends, stay connected to a church, serve, grow. Deepak in the middle is, he's from India, he's a graduate student, he's Hindu, but has connected with people in our church. He signed up to go because he likes to serve. We got to share the gospel, have really good spiritual conversations. Please continue to pray for him. He is not a believer, but is definitely spiritually interested and has really enjoyed befriending other Christians and just, getting to know people. And then Lynn, who at that point wasn't a believer, but just again, has a heart for service. She knows that her life has been impacted by others serving, and so she wants to pay that forward. And getting to meet other believers, people serving, was such a huge part of opening her heart to the gospel, to see what Christianity is really like in contrast to this, kind of horrible experience she had growing up. Oh, and then way in the back is Sadie, who I think I shared about Sadie last year if you were here, but she has a pretty rough childhood, had a little bit of gospel exposure through like a friend inviting her to a youth group. Came to school, one of her really good friends goes to H2O, and she could tell, she was like, something is different, like what is going on here? That friend shared the gospel with her, she came to faith. Now, a year later, she's one of our student leaders. She has a huge passion for sports. She's studying sports management, and this summer's doing an internship with Athletes in Action, learning how she can use her career in the mission field. So partnerships are what make this all possible. So we're part of something called the Collegiate Church Network. We work to plant churches on college campuses. Reliant is our mission agency. That's who all the giving goes through. They do our HR and insurance and stuff like that. There, you could think of them as the hub of a wheel, and then there's a bunch of spokes. So Collegiate Church Network is one of the spokes. We plant churches on college campuses. Then there's Great Commission Latin America. They plant churches in Latin America. Great Commission Europe. They plant churches in Europe. And Reliant is kind of the hub at the center of that. Reliant employs about 500 missionaries serving in 19 different countries around the world, which is pretty awesome. And then H2O is our local church. That's where we are in Kalamazoo. And really, H2O is the people. So this is a picture from our what's become an annual tradition. Gold Meadow Farms is like an apple orchard, pumpkin patch kind of a place near Kalamazoo, and we do a big outreach event, inviting people to come with us to Gold Meadow Farms, and we do that every fall. It's been a great way to meet and connect with students, great way to make friends. One of the things we found with international students is a big draw for them is getting to do typical American stuff. So an apple orchard, there's students in that picture from Dominican Republic, China, Japan, I think, Nigeria, all around the U.S. And every single one of those faces is a story, is somebody who we want to have an opportunity to hear about Jesus. My specific role, I'm one of the pastors at our church. I develop content and coach our small group leaders, train student leaders. I lead a small group, do a lot of relational work with students, a lot of evangelism on campus. So what motivates us? At this point, we've been doing this for 18 years, and we love it. What keeps us coming back? We get to see really cool stuff. We also see some really hard stuff. What is it that motivates us? And ultimately, it is seeing lives transformed by the gospel. I really like these two pictures. If you look closely, there's some overlap. So, on the left, that is Kristen baptizing our friend Fig, who I shared about last year. Fig, in case you want to hear the really short version of her story, she did not grow up going to church, had essentially zero gospel exposure. She very briefly went to a Catholic preschool. That ended up being a terrible experience. That's about her family's only exposure to church stuff. She came to Western and had a really hard time with the transition from high school to college. And in the process of that, a friend of hers asked if he could pray for her. She thought that was a little bit strange, but said yes, and found the experience really moving. And ultimately, that opened a door to eventually, a few months later, her accepting Jesus. Her life's completely transformed. It's an amazing story. She got baptized, and really since then has been a student leader in our church. She's helping lead a small group. She's reaching out to her friends. She's shared the gospel with her family. She has a real huge heart and desire. Join with her in praying that her parents and siblings will come to know Jesus. That's one of her real big hopes and prayers. And so she led one of her friends to Jesus this year. Then that friend asked, "Hey, would you baptize me?" So the picture on the right is Fig baptizing her friend this year, which is really cool. And that's part of the beauty of campus ministry, of this opportunity to impact and equip student leaders. We talk about disciples who make disciples, people who, having received the good news of Jesus, want that to go forward and are going to, share with the people in their life kind of wherever they go after graduation. This is, I guess, another picture of that that's just really special to Kristen and me. This is very similar to a picture we shared last year, but a year later. So this is a group that Kristen and I knew all the adults in that picture as college students. And now all these years later, we still get together. These are some of the essentially the first students that we met when we went to University of Michigan. And we've stayed in touch and still get together for a meal every fall. So in that picture, there's a worship leader, a full-time missionary, a banker, a stay-at-home mom, an investment planner, an interior designer, and a bunch of kids now. But all of them serving in local churches around the U.S., investing in their neighbors, reaching out to their friends, and just this really beautiful picture of, reaching the next generation. The reality is we can't do that alone. We part of our hope in coming and visiting is that you would hear those stories and know you guys are a part of every one of those stories. We could not do it without you. We're reliant first on the Lord and His graciousness to us, and then a whole team of partners, of which 2ndCRC is a big part of that, joining us in prayer, helping us meet people who are passionate about reaching college students. Financial giving is a huge piece of that. And then the clock is meant to represent time. We are close enough. If you ever are like, hey, I wouldn't mind making the trip to Kalamazoo and helping do an outreach table or something like that. We set up tables on campus and do spiritual interest surveys as kind of a big way that we meet potentially spiritually interested people. But we could totally plan something like that if you'd like to make a field trip. And ultimately, thanks so much for your partnership. It is just a joy to be teamed up with you. That's an older picture, but I just really like it. It's our family at, a couple years ago, the WMU women won the MAC championship in volleyball. And so that's just us being part of campus life and on campus. So thank you for being partnered with us. I tried to save a few minutes. If there's a couple of questions, we can do that. There don't have to be questions. That's no pressure, but. I guess I can pray to close it, or is that a hint? Yeah, fire away. Great question. The composition of our church. So it's like probably 80% student. There's a handful of families, mostly the families of the staff. There's a few of us on staff and our families. There are a couple families just in the community have a huge heart for college students that have joined us and are a part of our church. There's a not quite retired couple, Chris and Kim, who host like our summer small group and just have a huge heart for college students. And so there are a few people like that, but it's mostly college students. It's a great question. Any others? Does it vary by season? Yes, wildly. So part of what makes it easy for me to be here this week is in the summer. Actually, this summer we tried an experiment. So we kept our small group and stuff like that. We went down from like 6 to 2 small groups during the summer, and we paused our Sunday services in July and these first little bit of August to free up time for stuff like this. And then what we've been doing is encouraging students, hey, this week if you're around, we're going to go to, one week we went to Hope Church, which is a church pretty close, and we arranged rides and stuff like that. One week we went. Our kids are elementary, middle, and high school. Our church doesn't have a youth group, so we're partnered with a local church, Agape, where our kids go to youth group. So one of the weeks we went to Agape. Anya's given a whoop whoop. She loves Agape and is good friends with people there. So stuff like that, which that worked really well. It freed up our staff to be able to kind of take turns going and visit partner churches and stuff like that. But yes, the summer is much quieter. We try to do like our budget and planning for the year and, try to work ahead so we're ready to go in the fall. But there's way less students around, especially July. So then fall kickoff, in a couple of weeks, all of that ramps up like crazy, and we will meet. Last year, I think we did like 500 spiritual interest surveys. We're going to meet like thousands of freshmen in the period of maybe 2 weeks, and we're inviting to church, inviting to gospel appointments. The new student center has a Starbucks in it. We found a really kind of effective way as we do these little surveys, and it says, if there were a church that met on campus, would you be interested in an invite? Yes or no. If there was a small group that met to talk about the Bible, yes, no. Would you be interested in meeting with someone over free Starbucks to hear about God's grace, love, and forgiveness? Yes, no. And if so, what's the best way to get in touch with you? And so we'll just follow up, say, hey, my name's Daniel. I'm on staff at HO. I'd love to take you to Starbucks and share about God's grace, love, and forgiveness. And so the fall is crazy. We'll do a ton of outreach events. We do like a free coffee donut giveaway for the first day of class, and we're doing these spiritual interest surveys. And each of the first like 4 or 5 Sundays in the fall, we'll do a free lunch after church, just again to encourage people to stay, make a friend, get to know somebody, which is really helpful for, again, some students do come in knowing, like, church is a big part of my life. I want to continue that in college. We want to help them do that. And if we can help them make, like, a friend, that makes such a difference. And then some students, it's, people like Lynn and Fig, who have absolutely zero interest, but God is reaching out to them way before they realize it, which is awesome. So, yep.
If you already explained this in the question, but how did you come to choose H2O?
The name H2O? That's a great question. How do we come to choose the name H2O? So we came from New Life Church in Ann Arbor. Anyway, there was already a New Life Church in Kalamazoo. Not related to us, just coincidence. And then within our network of churches, H2O is the other most common name besides New Life. I asked the same question. I was like, H2O, that feels kind of random. But I really like the reason. They said it's from the story of the woman at the well, where Jesus says, I'm the living water. And he's crossing this cultural barrier to share the gospel with this Samaritan woman. And it leads to this really amazing work of God, where she becomes a believer. She invites her village to come and hear. And so living water, that's part of it. And then the other reason they gave, I was like, that's actually kind of smart, is H2O is easy to remember, which makes it easy to Google. So like one of our most effective advertising, outreach, however you want to think about it, strategies is we do sidewalk chalk all over campus in the fall. H2O Church, Sunday, 11:11 in the Student Center, H2O Church, all over the place. The amount, when I meet somebody new, I'll often ask, like, oh, how'd you find our church? And, we do posters, and we have people younger than me do some Instagram stuff and, whatever. But it feels like 9 out of 10 say, oh, I saw the chalk. And so, yeah, H2O is just really easy. Oh, I saw something about a church, H2O, Kalamazoo. You will find it with pretty minimal effort. So I saw another hand, yeah.
What are your 2 or 3 most frequent contacts with the university as a whole? Like, I can imagine maybe you refer students to the counseling center if they're in a health crisis.
Mm-hmm.
What would those links look like?
That's a great question. Like the staff at the school we interact with the most. So probably the most common would be there's somebody who's in charge of the student center, and that's a newer building. If you've been to Western in the last 3 or 4 years, they have this big, beautiful new student center. So there's somebody who's in charge of like the room reservations there. We interact with them very regularly. There's also a particular janitor who's there every Sunday, Vance. We interact with him, every week. There's a guy named Chris Sly who oversees Western's, they call it RSOs, Registered Student Organizations. So we are one of those, which is why we're able to use space on campus for free. And he's a believer, which is awesome. So he's really encouraging and supportive. So we interact with him quite a bit. He's the one who we get free parking passes, and Western does a really good job of supporting their campus organizations, which is great, and we work really hard to be good neighbors to, facilitate that relationship. We want to be welcome on campus. We want them to be glad we're there. And then, yeah, we do have some contacts at the Syracuse Health Center, and, yeah, students in, a mental health crisis. That does happen. They've been a good resource. And then actually, more and more, CETA, the program that I mentioned, we've really seen God just do a lot. Now, some of it is a key student leader who's been a part of our church for 6 years at this point is a CETA scholar, and her mental health ebbs and flows. She's got some stuff for sure that she's working through, but especially when she is in a good spot, man, is she an effective inviter. Just, yeah, her life was completely transformed. She has a really rough background. She became a believer a week before college started, and she's from the east side of the state. The church where she came to faith supports one of my other, it's the church where one of my co-pastors grew up. And so they were like, you should check this church out. And anyway, so over the years, she has invited, Lynn, Jay, a bunch. There's a guy named Joseph. He's great. He's a nurse now. Praise the Lord for that. But he was a CETA scholar. So, yeah, so they each have a coach. So there's a couple of those we've gotten to know because they're the coach of some of our students, and that'd probably be the contacts at Western that we interact with the most. Parking services, I guess. But it's pretty sweet. We live close enough that I can walk, but yeah, they give us free parking badges, which is awesome. Any other?
How do you spell that, CETA?
CETA is S-E-I-T-A. I don't know if it is an acronym or someone's name. That's a great question. If you Google, it's S-E-I-T-A, CETA Scholars at Western Michigan University. I don't know if it's just a Western thing or if it existed at U of M. I didn't know about it then, but yeah, it's pretty cool. They get paired up with a coach. They help them with just some basic, when they move in, they get a box with toiletries and stuff like that. They help. There's a food pantry on campus, Montgomery Essential Needs. They help, help connect them there if that's something that they need. And stuff like that. Yeah.
How do you interact with some of the parachurch organizations, like Campus Crusade? How do they fit in with a church?
That's a great question. How do we interact with other parachurch organizations? So it's been really cool. We have a great relationship with several parachurch organizations on campus. So there's a really robust crew group. That's probably the one we interact with the most. There's a, what's it called? International Campus Mission, International Campus Outreach. I can't remember exactly, but Laura is the name of the staffer, and Kevin, Laura and Kevin. They do like a whole international thing. Anyway, all of us were part of this, I guess, bigger group. Solid Grounds is another one, and his house. InterVarsity has ebbed and flowed. When we very first were on staff, there was a pretty big InterVarsity group. I have not seen them in the last year, but anyway. We all get together and like pray together before the start of the school year. We do a big prayer walk on campus and have lunch together. We'll coordinate on some special events. I think it was 2 years ago we worked together to bring, oh my gosh, I'm blanking out on his name, but I want to say it's Abdul, oh, I can't remember. He's from Dearborn, and he does, oh gosh, I'm on the spot. It's the thing that grew out of what used to be rap. Maybe. Anyway, it's basically an apologetics ministry. And so he's an apologetics speaker. He grew up Muslim in Dearborn, came to faith in Jesus. He writes a bunch of books. It's embarrassing, I can't remember his name, but that's okay. Anyway, we worked with, so like H2O, crew, his house, all worked together to bring him and do this. Like, we packed out the biggest ballroom in the student center with this like outreach event. That's way beyond what we could do by ourselves. So yeah, throughout the year, we'll occasionally do like some big event together. And then beyond that, we kind of each have our niches of campus. So we're like, WMU is an unreached group. We need more ministries. So we really try to like work together as much as we can. But it's kind of what makes our ministry different is that we're a fully functional church. So we have, pastors and staff. We have a church service that's on campus. And for us, the big reason there is we really want to help instill students with a love for the local church. So when they graduate, hopefully they'll connect to a local church and get invested and serve. And But that has been great. That's a really cool. There is no like spirit of competitiveness or whatever. It's a real team effort. Sweet. Well, thanks so much. I guess I can pray to close. Does that seem good? Okay. God, thanks so much for 2ndCRC and the blessing of long-term friendships and partnerships and just God, we are grateful for you and that you have transformed each of our lives, and we just pray, would you help us to have eyes to see those you've put in our path who need to hear about the hope that we have in you, and would you help us to share about the hope that we have. Thanks for Second Church, and I pray would you bless them. It's such an encouragement to be here. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you.